Hello and a very warm welcome to episode 5 of Metaverse What Matters. It is a chat show recorded right here in the Metaverse and available on YouTube. So it is fully accessible for everyone to be able to watch it and all the previous episodes and also share it as well. Tell others about the show, because in every episode we unpack what matters about the Metaverse as well as matters regarding the Metaverse. Now, I'm always delighted and excited to be joined by Dr. Katrina Wallace, who is the founder of the Responsible Metaverse Alliance. It's a social enterprise. It's an international movement that is committed to supporting the development of the metaverse and the virtual worlds. So think about the responsible handling of design, deployment, safety, culture, inclusion, operations, and functions. So Dr. Katrina Wallace, Kat, how are you? It's great to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too, Julia. I'm doing so well. Fabulous, thanks.
So listen, tell me, since we last spoke, what have you been up to?
So I have been working still with policing and trying to identify crimes in the metaverse, but also starting to work with educators. So looking at how do we equip principals and teachers to be, who really are the custodians of the most common users of the metaverse, how do we equip them to be metaverse ready?
Do you know, we've had some phenomenal engagement on social media with educators wanting to share this content with others, and then also on sort of major platforms of huge industry events wanting to really understand how this works. So that's why we're so delighted to do the show. Just very quickly about myself, if I may. So I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm a founder and the CEO of a business development, marketing, communications consultancy in the world of technology and financial services. But I'm also a professional host. So I travel both the virtual and the real worlds, interviewing leaders like Katrina Wallace, thinking about the dynamics of industry today, technology, people, humanity, but also thinking about what we must care about as we navigate the pathway into the future as well. So you find us today at the beach, which I love this setting, that we could change that. And by the way, just very quickly, when we talk about, actually what it's like to be avatars, we had lots of people talk about, actually what's it really like to be an avatar. And those of you who watch the show will know we're encouraging people to really get into the metaverse and to buy yourself an Oculus headset or any other headset and get involved. Let me just quickly show you one thing. So you're currently where in the world are you?
I'm in Newport Beach in Sydney, Australia.
Sydney. I'm in London, and we're now going to high five, which I always love this. And the weirdest thing, just for the benefit of the audience, that actually feels like a proper connection. Let's do a high 10. Let's just for the fun of it. Didn't quite work. One more time. Love it. So this is the whole thing about the metaverse. Like, it's really about that interconnectivity as well. That's what we're going to explore today, how the physical, the digital worlds, the virtual worlds all interoperate. But before we do that, for the benefit of the audience, we've been breaking down our discussion into some really key areas for exploration. And the reason why we do that is because the Responsible Metaverse Alliance has 4 pillars at the very heart of your charter. Kat, to kick us off, why don't you just walk us through, if you would, those 4 pillars, and then we can delve a little deeper.
Great, I'd love to. So the first is working with policymakers. So we're really calling on the introduction of standards, policy, regulation and legislation ahead of when the metaverse becomes more mainstream, which we think will be 3 to 5 years and definitely within 10 years. And we know it takes a long time, Julia, for regulation to come through. So we're calling on that now. So pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is working with builders and creators and suppliers to the metaverse so that they know how to build and develop in a responsible way. The third pillar is around diversity, inclusion and accessibility. And the fourth is around interoperability. And interoperability can be either interoperable virtual worlds, so how they interact together, interoperability between the physical, digital and the virtual world, financial interoperability, and there's probably a lot of other ways that we can think about this concept of the virtual worlds, which we believe there's about 160 or more individual virtual worlds that make up the construct of the metaverse, but not many, if any of them, are actually able to interact with each other.
So let's get into that then. Let's turn to this question of bridging the virtual, the digital and the physical worlds. And in the charter, you talk about the relationships and how they work together. And I think this is really important, how they work together in the best interests of humanity. Talk to us about why this pillar matters so much.
Yes, it is one of the most important pillars because we can't have the virtual world really being separate to the digital world and the physical world. And at the moment, in some ways, that is how it's being designed. And I'll give you an example. So I have been working with Crime Stoppers in Australia. So I'm not sure if Crime Stoppers is generic around the world, but it is a not-for-profit institution that works with police to help stop crime and works out in community. Now, Crime Stoppers in Australia is very keen to have an office in the metaverse. And so I got involved in a cybersecurity task force, and they're looking at, well, what does that mean? So if you had a Crime Stoppers office in one of the virtual worlds and a person wanted to report a crime, is that a crime that's occurred in the virtual world? Have they just had their NFT stolen? Is it something that's a crime that's in the digital world that is related to the virtual world? So was their crypto wallet that they had used their crypto to buy the NFT that was in the virtual world? Has that been hacked? So it's a digital world problem related to the virtual world. Or then is a physical crime that somebody has seen occurred in the physical world, but they're reporting it in the virtual world? So if you just think of the complexities of that, Julia, and then let's go even into the jurisdiction. So let's say it is a person in a virtual world reporting a crime they've seen in the physical world. Well, that person could be from the UK, but reporting it in an Australian Crime Stoppers office. How does that work? So these questions are yet really unanswered by, I know, a lot of law enforcement organisations, including Interpol, are starting to look at this. And that's just one example of how do we think about virtual, digital and physical worlds. And of course, we can think about brands as well who have a physical item of clothing and then offer the same as an NFT that the person can wear in the virtual world. All of the systems and processes that work between those three worlds are very complicated.
And, and just to bring that last piece to life a little bit more, I mean, it would not be inconceivable that I could sit here as my avatar with jewelry that is made by someone else and as a sponsored feature to be wearing, branded clothing in that. But I want to return to this question around, particularly around the best interests of humanity and thinking about, I mean, there are roles for many in that discussion. Tech giants stepping up and actually having some accountability about how people are using the platforms. Tell us about who in the community needs to care about this, why, and then also to what extent do you think people care?
So I do think people care, and at the Responsible Metaverse Alliance, we commissioned an organisation called Purpose, who do a lot of good work in strategy for social movements, to go out and do some research about what is happening in the responsible metaverse field. And they came back with some interesting research results about the fact that organizations who are providers to the metaverse in particular, so a lot of the creatives, actually do seem to care more about social well-being and human values than perhaps we saw in Web 2.0 in social media. And a lot of the NFT creators who are running projects will often have a philosophy, but also a social cause or a charity that they are donating to. So we do think that there is more social awareness in Web3 and the metaverse than we have seen before. So that would suggest that humanity might be a little better off, but we're also still seeing the big tech giants with the typical business models around engagement and advertising, and we haven't really seen new business models that support a healthy well-being and humanity emerging just yet.
And if you were to look at that community, who do you see as being the real leaders in this area? Who should we be kind of holding up to in high esteem and arguably following in their approach?
Well, it's a good question about responsible metaverse. No organisation leaps to mind. I do believe, and I have some conversations pretty regularly with Microsoft, I do believe that Microsoft have really done some good work in creating, a reasonable reputation with regard to responsible AI. AI is a foundational component of metaverse, and I think they will be positioning well when they come out with more of their metaverse related products. They have the HoloLens existing, which is a brilliant headset, quite expensive, but brilliant. So I think Microsoft is a good one, and Apple will come out within the next 12 months, Julia, with their mixed reality offering. And I do believe that better than most, Apple does tend to have some human-centered values built into how they design their software and hardware.
And I think this human-centered values is really what matters. We talk a lot in every world, actually, about the importance of purpose and about really having strong corporate values in everything that you do when you're communicating out to, you know, in whichever world we're existing. And I think it's going to be very interesting seeing how those huge organizations, but also the creators and the community will be able to steal a march on others because they hold this so centrally and so dearly, but also hold themselves up to high standards around those values. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's very important. But even if we boil that down to thinking of the concept human-centered values, you know, what are they? Are the human-centered values in Australia the same as those in the UK, same as those in Brazil and in China and in America? So even then, Jules, we come to this concept of philosophy again. And what we've seen with the emergence of Web3 and the metaverse is a philosopher's renaissance. So we're back to talking about philosophy and these important questions about what even is a human-centered value.
Well, maybe that's something we should get into in a new episode. I think there's so many questions that are buzzing around my mind. Sadly, never enough time to talk to you about these things as well. But I'd love to be, you know, returning to this question about the interoperability between these worlds. Is what are you most optimistic about as you're out navigating and talking to people?
So I believe interoperability between the worlds is a very good thing and needs to happen. And let's give an example of what that actually means. So at the moment, I have this avatar that you see and the audience can see, but I can only use it in this virtual world that we're in now. I can't take this, you know, nicely styled and crafted avatar into another world, and nor can I if I've bought an NFT in a particular world. Some do, but most likely I can't take that NFT. So let's say, using the example we talked about before, having maybe a handbag or something that we've been given, or a bracelet or a hat, we can't take that from one world into another because it's not operable. So that problem has to be sorted out, and I think it will be a good thing when it is sorted out. But as a technologist, the level of complexity again of that is it's a lot, and there's all sorts of then challenges around privacy, security, identity, portability of whatever you want to take into these virtual worlds. Eventually it'll happen, but I think it is a good few years away.
And my mind immediately goes to the world of payments, because as
Right.
consumers and operators within the metaverse, is can we take those payments from one world to another? And I think that's going to be a really interesting area to explore and discuss in much further detail.
Yes, so I mentioned that financial interoperability is one of the topics that is up for discussion. And I'm not sure if all of the viewers know, but often in entering a virtual world, you need a crypto wallet. And so, for example, I use MetaMask, and I have that as my crypto wallet. I can put cryptocurrency in there, and that's my entry point into the virtual world. You can't enter without that. So I'm not taking my credit card in. I'm certainly not taking cash in, but I am taking a crypto wallet and cryptocurrency in. And so then each virtual world, you can take the same wallet often, but you would then be buying different things in those different worlds, and that becomes also complex. So we've got blockchain, cryptocurrency, NFTs, crypto wallets, all of this level of financial modeling coming through the metaverse, and its connection then to physical payments, to digital payments, to credit, to all of the financial world that we're so familiar with. This is all starting to be designed.
So much in all of that to explore for sure, and these are topics that are coming up left, right, and centre. When I know you're talking to a lot of people, I'm out in the industry talking to a lot of people as well, and so what I'm really enjoying at the moment is that we have a hashtag. Those of you who regularly watch the show will know that we have a segment of the show called Ask Cat, and we have a hashtag. It is literally hashtag Ask Cat, where you can ask Katrina Wallace anything around the metaverse. And so one question I've had asked on social media, but also asked in person as well, truly interoperable questioning, I think you'll agree, is this question of digital twinning as an expression. And I just wondered, for the benefit of the audience, if you could please just explain what that is and why that matters.
Yeah, digital twins are a very exciting technology, but have been around for quite a long time. So a digital twin is a digital replica, typically of a physical construct. So it might be in a building for building maintenance. So there might be a large office building and a digital twin is built of it. So it's literally exactly the same as what's in the physical office, but in a virtual environment, so rendered. And it then may have sensors and other metric detecting devices in the physical building that would feed back into the digital twin. And then an operator would know that there is something going wrong with the electricity, that there's a fire, there's something with the water, or how often the elevators are being used. So there's all sorts of intelligence and information and data that can come from the digital twin. But what is really exciting, we're also seeing digital twins in medical use of virtual reality. So doctors now being trained, instead of on a cadaver or a deceased body, that they're using a digital twin of a human body and learning to operate using virtual tools and surgical equipment on the virtual body.
So, of course, what's fascinating about that is begin to think about the use cases, and you've given us a couple of examples in the medical field, but of course that can be taken so into almost every sector. We've talked in previous episodes about your message to the industry about get involved, right? Really start thinking about the application, have a metaverse strategy in your organization as well. So thank you for explaining that. I know it's been a question that's come up a few times. Please do ask us anything, literally hashtag AskCat on social media. This is available on YouTube, and do share it. I think one of the things I've loved is that we've had academic institutions say, can we please share this content with our students? And it's available for everyone. It is fully, there are no firewalls, there are no paywalls, there are no subscription walls. It's available to everybody. So tell us, Kat, looking ahead, what's coming up for you?
So we're going to be working in the area of standards, and we're going to be working in the area of educators, and we're going to continue our work in the field of policing in the metaverse over the next couple of months.
Wonderful. And it's going to be a very busy remainder of the year for us all, no doubt. Please do post your questions. And to everybody who's been watching, thank you as always for joining us. You've been watching Metaverse What Matters, filmed here in the Metaverse, available on YouTube. Do engage with us on social media. And Katrina, any last thoughts for the audience? I know you've always got a sort of call to arms, a call to action.
Yes. So my last thought is, if you want to learn about the metaverse, virtual reality, ask your children, particularly if you have teenage children. They are the custodians of a lot of knowledge. Instead of being, the creepy parent that's trying to not let your kids use this technology, be the parent that's interested. Go and ask them, get them to teach you how to use virtual reality. Have a look at some of their games. You'll learn a lot. I absolutely encourage you to get some mentoring from your children.
Dr. Katrina Wallace, founder of the Responsible Metaverse Alliance. It's always a joy to be with you. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Julia.
And to everybody who's been watching Metaverse What Matters, I've been Julia Streets. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.